In my quest to try a whole bunch of new games, I figured I would try out Trench Crusade. And with Trench Crusade, I have quite a few models that I'm not currently using for anything, including a bunch of Weird's The Other Side models. So I decided to lay out a whole bunch of models and see what might work for a list. So, Trench Crusade rules are free online, and I've been looking at a lot of different options over the last year or so, and I just never got around to building a faction, a warband, whatever. So, today I'm going to go through that process. So, being that a lot of these models are demonic in nature, I figured it would probably be best to go with a fallen instead of the trench pilgrims or something like that these might work for. I wanted to go with something more mutated, but maybe not quite um, nurgly in nature. So I decided I would do the Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent. And I really want to use this model. So we're going to base this model on a Praetor. And what's great is, since it's on a 50mm base, they came with 50mm bases. So that'll be able to glue on and be my Praetor. And since another character, another elite that you can take is a Sorcerer, and the Sorcerer is meant to be flying, and also on a 50mm base, I decided to go with this model. Yes, it's a little bit less destructive, not as heretical as it could be, but I think painting it up will work perfectly fine. And I'm also going to do, I think, Pride. So, yeah. And since it's always flying, it works that it's not touching the base. And that works quite well on a 50mm base. So, we have two elites, two different leaders. And so I decided I wanted to go with something interesting for the pit locusts. Now, I don't have anything with wings, but I do have something that could work as a beast, and that is these, with a bunch of claws and the ability to have the poison stingers and everything like that. And they don't have human faces, but I think these are quite interesting. And they're supposed to be on 30 by 60 ovals. Well, I have some of those. So we're going to put down 3 of those, because you can take up to 3, and place these guys over here. All right. And now we have 5 demonic for this faction. And I know I want to do a whole bunch of wretched. And they're on 25mm bases, so I do have some Reaper Miniatures 25s, and since you have to equip them with a weapon, I'm going to have to figure out the weapons, but I kind of like the look of this model. I think putting a weapon in that arm is easy enough. If I want to do a ranged thing or something, I don't know, it's decent. He's wretched, and I do have 2 of those. I also have this sculpt, which looks very interesting with the wisps and everything. And then I have some more wretched looking characters. And I love that they all have like chains and stuff on them. And then this guy is quite mutated with 4 arms. But I'll have to give him a melee weapon. But that gives me 5. And I must have less of those than I do demonics. So the other thing I saw in the list builder was the Yoke Fiends. And they seem very satyr, like a pestigore type creature. But they go on 32mm bases, and they're supposed to stand 7 or 8 foot tall, so I want something bigger than those guys. And I have these. And they are definitely taller. So I'm going to build 2 of these as Yoke Fiends, and I'm going to run their arms as great hammers, because they're big and beefy, and they're going to just slam into things with their huge arms. So that is plenty to have the wretched that I have, and I might even be able to add 1 more, but I'm going to need to buy a bunch of things in the armory, so I'm going to go over to the computer and work through all of that. And with all of those things piled on, I referenced the armory and the battle kit, and I wrote up a list, and I decided that using swords and a trench club on the wretched was the best idea. So I need to kit bash those, and then I will glue a bunch of things to bases. And then, since I just got in these guards and villagers from Wargames Atlantic, paid for, by the way, I decided maybe I should do a new Antioch faction as well. So, for this, I'm going to take 1 of the guards and 1 of the villagers, and because I can, I'm also going to take some extra British Commonwealth that I have, and I'm going to build a new Antioch army out of those. And I have a few extra in case I need more yeomen or other characters. So let's see how I build this one up. And just to have some more options, I'm going to take some of my bolt action minis that I got, and I'm going to add my Soviet winter models. Alright, here is a list. It took a little bit of finagling back and forth, but I have a list. So now I just need to get around to kit bashing all of these things. So, it might be a really weird one, but I have the ability to do 698 points and also 900 point list. So we'll see how these go, but these look like really fun models to build up. Alright, I cut out all of the bits from all of the kits to make these 12 models. So now that I've done that, I need to clean them all up and glue them all together so that I can actually see what they all look like finished. So this is going to take a little while, but it should all go together quite well. I tried to dry fit pieces before I finished putting all the pieces down. They should all work together. 6 yeomen of different weapon options, a trench mole, the lieutenant over here. The mechanized heavy infantry is a little bit less. Well, it's reinforced armor, not mechanized, but yeah, the combat medic, it should be alright. And there we go. I have a lieutenant with a submachine gun, a trench shield, and a helmet with standard armor. I have a combat medic with the combat medic stuff. I've got a sniper priest, blinded, with a automatic rifle and a shovel. I plan on having him just sit somewhere where it has good line of sight and blast away. Hopefully it'll work. I have a trench mole with a flamethrower and a shovel. Yeah, he's gonna be fun. Infiltrate up and just flame, flame, flame. I have a yeoman with a rifle and bayonet. And another one. And another one. One with a medic kit. A yeoman with a musical instrument and grenades. And a combat engineer with a submachine gun and satchel charge with engineering armor and a shovel. I have a yeoman with a trench club. And then I have a heavy infantry with machine gun, the only model out of this whole thing that didn't quite work for size. I love how he looks, all the heavy armor and everything, but he is definitely not really filling out a 40mm base. But they are all humans, and they all scale properly, so, you know, you do what you got with what you have, right? And I think they'll work quite well against the massive enemies and disproportionate sizes that they're going to be facing. So, this should be a fun little two force start to a game. And with these all painted up, I should have quite a few options. So, there we go. 2 forces, 700 and 900 point lists capable of being run, and I can learn how to play based on this. So I look forward to getting them painted up and trying out the game. I hope this was interesting, and tell me, have you looked into Trench Crusade? Do you have any forces yet? Which one is your favorite? Do you have any suggestions for my lists? I know that the new Antioch is a little bit harder to do stuff, and I still do need to figure out which of the battle groups I need to have set up, fire teams. So I could use some suggestions. Let me know. Subscribe if you haven't, so that you don't miss any future videos. I also want to thank my patrons and supporters for making these videos possible. And until next time, I hope you find your bit of bliss.